Hello, Laura Peters here from Dublin, Ireland. Today I want to show you some easy ways to make your card pop a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. I have a longer video I made yesterday with my son if you want a longer video, but we're going to try to go fast today. So first thing we're going to do, I want to note that we are using the Balloon Celebration stamp set, which is a retired set. I'm also going to be using some retired designer series paper. Sorry. Today I'm not trying to sell you specific products. I just want to show you how to do some easy techniques to make your card look that much fancier. Okay. So first thing we always do is start with our card base. This is a piece of A4 white cardstock. I have marked with little notches on my paper cutter and trimmer, the different lengths for making this halfway. So I don't know if you saw that. I've got two different blades here. I've got a scoring blade and I've got a cutting blade. And if you get which is which, on the top it's got a little circle and a little triangle. So circle for the dull scoring blade, triangle for the sharp cutting blade. Also, here I can pop them out and show them to you actually. They're really easy to pop out for if you want to rearrange them or if you want to replace them. Well, now it's making a liar out of me, isn't it? There we go. So you can see here that the cutting blade has a sharp triangle point. The scoring blade has this dull circular point because it's not meant to cut. So when you're going to score, you want to make sure that the cutting blade is out of the way. Because if you drag them both across at the same time, you're going to end up cutting your paper. There we go. So line my paper up so that it's halfway. Zippity zip, pressing down firmly. I like to move towards the stopper here because if you go this way, didn't do it there, but if you have a smaller piece of paper, it can shift your cardstock. Now we're going to trim the long side. We're going to cut this into two separate cards. Line up there and hold. Better if you hold the plastic down. Okay, ready? We're going to do a nice quick zip. Zip! Get a much cleaner cut when you do it quick like that. Making sure the whole time that you are pressing down as well. Okay, so now we have two card bases. Can you see the score line there? It's just it just made a dent in the card. That's what scoring means. Okay, makes it easier to get a nice clean fold when you fold your card in half. So the next thing I do is I take a look at both sides, see if one side looks better than the other. I can see a little bit of the overlap here because I obviously either didn't fold it or didn't score it quite evenly. So I'm going to make this card, this side, the front. Okay. So we're going to start, whoops, that's my trimmer going flying to the floor. We are going to start with the basic card. All right. So these are photopolymer stamps. They start clear. Every time I use a red dye, it does dye them a bit. It doesn't affect it. You can see here that I can stamp it. Nothing's coming off. No problem. Okay. So we are just going to make some balloons. You know what? I have to do that again. I didn't show you how to open the ink, did I? Okay, so we want to just tap, tap, tap. Do not press hard. Straight up and down. Sorry, I want to fold this because some of the balloons might go off the edge. Okay. Straight down, press hard. Voila. Okay, now I like to stamp off, get all the extra ink off before I move, before I go to my stamp and scrub and my stamp and spray. If you get a newer one, this is going to look a little different. This one's about 15 years old at least. Okay. So we've done red. I am going to come back to that. Next is orange. Sorry, I'm looking at my samples from yesterday. Okay, so this is a stamping spot. There are some sets where you can get just spots. It's a good way to get a lot of ink for less money, but they are not as nice to use. For one thing, they've got this linen fabric ink pad instead of the spongy ink pad. But when you get these, you want to do it the opposite. You want to put the stamp down and tap the ink pad on it. If you don't feel like you're getting good coverage, sometimes I will swirl it like this, twist it, and then go back and tap over it. Okay, You can see it has a bit of a different coverage, but if you're buying a full ink pad, they're always going to be these spongy ones now. Those are the new ones. Okay, do another stamp off. We're going to move to green. So when you're opening the stamp pads, you're going to pop it up, slide it in. Okay. This is how I did it, yeah. So I'm looking at my samples from yesterday again, okay? Give it a nice firm press down without rocking it. And now we're gonna do blue. This is an older ink pad, so this one also has the linen top. I've been stamping for a long time. So the balloons are not in the current catalog, which is unfortunate, but balloons are pretty popular. It's kind of just a basic birthday thing, isn't it? So I expect them to come back in the next catalog or mini catalog. Okay, here I'm going to actually overlap them a little bit to make it look like there's some depth here. Now, with most stamp sets, you would not want to do that because you wouldn't want your things to overlap. But balloons are kind of see-through, aren't they? So this is what it would look like in real life if you did have two balloons in front of each other. So here I'm down with it. So one nice thing about being a demonstrator is I get to see the new catalog in advance and even order some of the new products in advance. That happens this coming week. I'm so excited. So soon I will know if there will be any balloons in the new catalogs and I can get back to you about that. I can't wait. Cannot wait. Okay, so I'm done with all of these. I'm going to come back to green in a minute. Okay, so now we are going to use our Memento Black ink, which is the linen top. So I should have said all the colors will come with the spongy top, but these ones, and if you get the Stays On, they will have this linen cover, but that's okay. So the skinnier the stamp, the easier it is to rock it and make a mistake. So you really want to make sure that you go just straight up and down. It also helps if you have a block that's close, the acrylic block that's closest to the size of your stamp. So we're just going to stamp a little happy birthday right there. Done. We have a cute card. That's all it took. What do you think? Should we add some bling? Let's add some bling. I love adding bling. Where are my pearls? I have found it's easiest to use the pearls and the rhinestones for that matter with tweezers. These are just some old tweezers that have now become my craft tweezers. So I'm gonna use some of these big ones up here. I like the pearls for this project because they remind me of clouds in the sky. Whoopsie. Flip. Yeah, there we go. I always put them in groups of 3 also. I'm gonna use some smaller ones. Oh, come on. They're just not cooperating for me today. Of course not, because I'm making a video, right? Flip, come on. Rarg. I also see I have a bit of a smudge here, so I'm gonna use the pearls to cover the smudge. Or if I can't cover it, distract from it at least. There we go. Oh my goodness. I always like to put my embellishments in odd numbers as well. Well, I guess that's 6, but odd and odd, right? Well, maybe we could put some down here. You can put in whatever you want. Great birthday card. Okay, but now we're gonna jazz it up a little bit, right? So we're gonna use this same basic layout, but we're gonna add layering and 2-step stamping. So we're gonna add 2 techniques, okay? Well, I shouldn't say layering, it's more of a 3D effect, but okay, so we got the same balloons, same embellishments, but now we are going to add 2-step stamping. You can see here I already did it. Now there is a technique we can use where I would make that stand out more, but in this case I didn't want them to stand out more. So first I'm going to take my old stamp off of my block, put the new stamp on the block. Okay, and bring my green ink back, tap, tap, tap. And what you do here, and this is the benefit of having the acrylic blocks, is you line it up. This is 2 sizes. Which size do I have? This is the small. Okay, so here's the big one, here's the small one. So I have to use the small one on the small balloon. It just adds this little bit of dimension. Now you can see it really strongly here because the green ink in particular shows quite strongly when it's wet, but it fades to this color. So you see here where there's just a little bit of color difference, that's what it's gonna look like when it's dry. And I do have some examples on the next steps where I can show you what it looks like dry. Ooh, got it on my finger. Okay. All right, so we've already made this a little bit more interesting just by doing two-step stamping. But now we are going to layer it. And, oh, and we're gonna cut a tag here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make this a little smaller. I've got, you could see that this happy birthday is not centered. So when you make a little flag end, the easiest way to do this is to cut a line up the center and then cut from the corner to the center. And that's gonna give you the best results for your flag. I should say the most symmetrical results, okay? So now we've got a little flag that we're going to use there, and we're going to use dimensionals. I highly recommend dimensionals. They make everything look cool, so as you're about to see. So these are just two-sided sticky foam stickers. The top side is covered with paper that you have to peel off. And sometimes they static cling to your fingers. Okay. All right. So I'm actually making these for a birthday party for my son's classmates. Sometimes I like to customize the card to what the kid likes. But I don't know these kids very well, and my son was not giving me a lot of hints. So we are making generic birthday cards. Okay. So here we've got the same stamp sets, same exact layout. All we did was pop some things up. Well, and we cut a little chunk out of this paper to make it a flag, didn't we? Can you see the difference there? See that there's this layer is higher and this layer is also higher. So it's not a massive difference technique-wise, but I think it's quite a big difference results-wise. I love dimensionals. I think they make everything look way cooler. Okay, so we're gonna put those aside. We're gonna add another step. This time, we are going to do the exact same thing where we pop this up on dimensionals, but we're gonna add one layer. We're gonna add a color layer behind, okay? I want to show you how I glue. I get a lot of questions about how to glue properly. I use my Tombow Mono liquid glue. It has two tips, a broad tip and a pointy tip. I know this looks a little worse for wear, doesn't it? It's because it's what I use all the time. I've been stamping for 18 years and I have tried quite a few different adhesives, and this is my favorite. And the reason for that is there's wiggle room. So and it dries actually pretty quickly. So I put it close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. So that way if I scooch it, my glue doesn't come out. So what I'm gonna do is I just eyeball this, and when I'm lining it up, typically what I do is I look at one corner and I try to make sure it's equidistant up and over, if that makes sense. And that usually gives me a pretty good result. And then I can scooch it to line it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to press it down, and now it's going to be too tight, too dry to move. So keep that in mind. So what I do when I'm layering like this is I take the last layer and I take 5 centimeters off. So let me show you what that looks like on the paper trimmer. Oh, this is my old one. It doesn't have centimeters. I forgot to drop the other one on the floor. Excuse me. Okay. So here is, if you line it up here with the cutting channel, you can see it's, let's see, what is that? Like 105.5 centimeters or millimeters, right? Does that sound right? So now I kind of want to do 100.5, but I would really just do 100. So I scooch that down to the 10 mark. You see there, the difference? If I line them both up on this edge, on the cutting edge, the cutting trench, if you want to call it. It's approximately 5 millimeters. Okay, same thing with this layer. I don't have another example to show you. Sorry, I should have showed you before I cut it. But this one would be then about at the 9.5 centimeters. Okay, and it gives you just that little border, which I think is perfect. So I almost always do 5 millimeters. Okay, now this part I'm going to pop up on dimensionals, which are here. Because again, love them, easy way, relatively cheap thing because you get 2 packs of this and they go a long way. All right. It's also great to have a lot of generic birthday cards. I'm actually gonna have a few extra after this demo. Great to have some generic birthday cards in your package. And the reason that I picked these colors in particular is because they go with the designer series paper I'm going to show you in the next step. Now I did not, oops, that's for my next step. This is the one I want. In this one, what I did was I cut the original flag. This probably needs more than 2, but it'll be fine. If I wanted to use the mini dimensionals, that would work better. So I cut the white flag, just like you saw me in the last step, glued it to this blue piece of paper, then cut this blue flag using the same technique to mirror it, okay? So I don't want it to hang off the edge of the card base. Put that on my hand so you can see better, because then it won't fit in my envelope properly. But I do want it to hang off the edge of my blue on just right up to the edge of the card, because I think it, well, what do you think? Actually, I'm going to do it like this so that it's all showing. Scooch it a little before I press it down. I like that. So here's layering with no extra colors. Here's layering with extra colors. Everything else is the same. Okay. You decide for yourself which one you like better. Now we're going even more layers. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little tip. When I know that I am going to be covering the center of some designer series paper, that's what this is. Designer series paper is, it's not as thick as cardstock. It's thicker than standard printer paper though. And it's got the pretty designs on it. The Stampin' Up! Ones are always 2-sided, okay? This is a retired series also. Now the packet, you could see some of the other options in here. We had plain stripes, we had flowers. I mean, this was an amazing packet. A big thick one too. I believe this was a Hostess exclusive. So it tells you what colors it coordinates with. Crushed Curry, Flirty Flamingo, Granny Apple Green, Misty Moonlight, Pale Papaya, Petal Pink, Pool Party, Poppy Parade, and Whisper White. So I went and picked the colors that I had in my stash out of that to coordinate. That's how I chose these inks and this paper. So when I know I'm going to use something like this, I cut a window out of the middle because I'm being stingy with my paper and I can use that in another project. Okay, so we're going to glue again. I do not recommend popping just designer series paper up on the dimensionals because it's not quite stiff enough. Okay, so this one I cut slightly smaller, and I'm going to show you the difference with the version I did yesterday, which is, whoops, I'm not going to show you because I already wrapped it up in an envelope. The one I did yesterday, the designer series paper covered the entire card base. I didn't like it as much. Okay, so we're going to glue here too. Again, I get a lot of questions about gluing. That's the only reason I'm showing you so much gluing. Okay, and I could have used any color here. I considered using orange as the card base also. Whoops! Oh my gosh. Be gentle with your pearls. They do have glue on the back, but you know, they're only so strong. Okay, so this part I'm going to pop up on dimensionals, my cardstock, which is nice and thick and strong. Sometimes I do one in the middle, sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on how big the piece is, if I think it's going to sag in the middle or not. This one's 2 layers and it's smaller. I don't feel like it's going to sag in the middle, so I'm skipping that dimensional. Okay, put this in the middle. You could actually do it offset. You could do it twisty. Oh, wait, I really like that. Do you like that offset? Yeah, I like that. We're gonna do it asymmetrical. Okay. Another way to add interest to your card. I think because of the lines in the back, that's why I think I like it better with the asymmetrical. So a lot of this is not very scientific. I just wing it. Okay, now this, yeah, I'm gonna make this straight now. I'm gonna cover up some of that blue. I think we've got enough blue going here. Also, if you made a mistake, it's a good way to cover up your mistake. What do you think? I think right there. Pop. I had an extra set of pearls here instead of there, so we've got more layering. We've got designer series paper. We've got asymmetrical. So the difference between this one and this one is basically the designer series paper. I cut this layer, the popped up layer smaller, and I made it crooked. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. I also placed the pearls differently, but that's just because this panel is smaller. Last step, Wink of Stella. No idea why it's called that. It's a pretty benign looking thing, but oh my gosh, I love it. I don't know if you're even gonna be able to tell, but I'm gonna go here. Where do I wanna put it? We'll just do it on the red balloons for now. So basically, this just adds shimmer. I don't even want to say glitter because it's not chunky like that. It just adds some shimmer. I'm gonna squeeze mine. Mine is getting worn out. Time to replace it, I think. Oops. Okay, now if you do it on red, you are going to want to do that to make sure you don't get any color transfer. Can you see that it just adds some shimmer? I'm going to do it on the orange too. I really like that. And then I'm going to leave the green and blue alone. Again, no particular reason I'm leaving the green and blue alone. I just think it'll look cool. So can you see that bit of shimmer that it adds? Let's see if I can get this higher here. I don't think my lights go that high. Just adds that little bit of shimmer, which I absolutely love. Okay, so now we've gone from basic card, perfectly suitable card, anybody would be happy to receive, to much fancier card with just some basic techniques. So again, let's kind of line these up in order so you can see kind of how we went step by step. So we took this design, we added some dimensionals to it. Then we took this and we added a layer of color behind it. And then we took this and we added a layer of designer series paper behind it. So from this to this looks like quite a different card, but really it was some pretty basic steps. So I hope that helps you gain some confidence in your card designing journey. Know that this is a great card all on its own, and anybody would be really happy to receive this. Okay? I hope you enjoyed. Happy stamping. If you have any questions, please let me know. Next week when the new catalog comes out, if I see an awesome balloon stamp set come out, I'll add it to the description in YouTube. Thanks. Bye.